So you started a new habit, you were motivated, you were consistent, and then one day you stopped. Now you think you're failing. But what if breaking the streak is actually where real growth begins? A while ago, I made a video about the 4 phases of getting your life together: awareness, experimentation, friction, and integration. Every meaningful change in your life moves through these 4 phases, and almost everyone gets stuck in the third one. Most people think the hardest part is getting started. It's not. The hardest part is what happens after the excitement wears off, when motivation disappears, when the streak breaks, when you start questioning whether any of this is even working. That's phase 3. And in this video, I want to show you why so many people fail here. Because phase 3 doesn't begin when motivation disappears. It begins the moment you think you have failed. Let's say you've been consistent for 12 days. You've been working on your habit, you're feeling good, you're finally becoming the person you wanted to be. Then Tuesday happens. You wake up tired, work takes longer than expected. You tell yourself you'll do it later, but later never comes. You go to bed knowing you didn't do the thing. And immediately something changes. Not in your habit, in your mind. Because now the story starts. Great, I messed it up. I was doing so well. I knew this wouldn't last. And that's the real danger. Not the missed day, but the meaning you attach to it. Because one missed workout doesn't ruin your fitness. One missed writing session doesn't kill your project. One missed day doesn't erase 12 successful ones, but the shame that follows often does. And that's why so many people fail in phase 3, not because they stopped, but because they believed stopping once meant they had failed. I think one of the biggest problems with modern self-improvement is our obsession with streaks. Don't get me wrong, streaks are motivating. They create momentum, they give you proof that you're making progress. But they also create a dangerous illusion. Because at some point, the streak stops being a tool and it becomes the goal. Think about it. Why does missing one day feel so bad? It's not because one day matters. One day is nothing. The problem is that we start seeing the streak as proof that we're changing. And once that happens, breaking the streak feels like proof that we're not. Suddenly, you're not someone who missed a workout, you're someone who failed. You're not someone who skipped a day of writing, you're someone who can't stay consistent. And that's where the spiral begins. Because now you're fighting 2 battles: the habit itself and the story you're telling yourself. The missed day isn't what drains your energy. The guilt does, the shame does, the disappointment does. And before you know it, you spend more energy judging yourself than it would have taken to simply continue. That's why I think the goal of self-improvement was never to build a perfect streak. The goal is to become someone who can recover. Because anyone can show up when they're motivated. Phase 3 asks a harder question. Who are you when motivation is gone? Who are you when things stop feeling exciting? Who are you after the streak breaks? That's the test, and that's where most people fail. For a long time, I thought discipline meant pushing through no matter what. Feeling exhausted, push through. Can't focus? Push through. Completely drained? Push through. And sometimes that works. But sometimes you're not being disciplined, you're just punishing yourself. I remember sitting at my desk one evening trying to force myself to work. I had already decided that I was going to be productive. So I stayed there for hours staring at the screen, rereading the same thing over and over, trying to force progress. Do you know how much meaningful work I got done? Almost none. I wasn't working. I was proving to myself that I was willing to suffer. Isn't that ridiculous? And that's when I realized something. Sometimes continuing isn't discipline. Sometimes stopping is, because there comes a point where you're no longer building momentum. You're just draining the battery. And if you're constantly running on empty, eventually you'll quit. Not because you're weak, but because you're exhausted. That's why I started using something I call a strategic pause. A strategic pause isn't quitting. It's a conscious decision to stop forcing progress when forcing progress is making things worse. You take the evening off, you go for a walk, you meet with friends, you watch a movie, you do something that actually restores your energy. And here's the important part. You don't feel guilty during that break. You don't spend the entire day telling yourself you should be working. You rest completely because the goal isn't to protect the streak. The goal is to protect your ability to continue, and those are very different things. But here's where most people get this wrong. A strategic pause only works if you come back. Because the real skill isn't avoiding bad days, the real skill is returning after them. And that's why I follow one simple rule. Never 2 days in a row. One missed day is a pause. 2 missed days starts becoming a pattern. And the beautiful thing about this rule is that it's simple. You don't need a perfect streak. You don't need flawless discipline. You don't need to make up for yesterday. You just need to come back today. That's it. And when you do come back, make it ridiculously easy. Start stupidly small. If your goal is to read 1 page. If your goal is to write 1 sentence. If your goal is to exercise, do 5 push-ups. Don't focus on results. Don't focus on catching up. Focus on re-establishing the identity. Because every time you come back, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. Not through intensity, but through repetition. That's how habits survive. That's how trust is built. That's how people eventually reach phase 4. Not by being perfect, but by becoming the kind of person who always returns. I think the biggest lie in self-improvement is that successful people never fall off. They do, everyone does. The difference is that they don't make it mean something. A bad day doesn't become a bad week. A bad week doesn't become a bad month. And a broken streak doesn't become a broken identity. So if you're in phase 3 right now, I want you to remember this. The day after the streak breaks is the day your real growth begins. Not because you're motivated, not because it's easy, but because this is the moment where you stop relying on motivation and start building trust in yourself. And trust is what changes your life, not motivation, not streaks, not perfect consistency, just trust. Because once you trust yourself to come back, you stop needing to be perfect. And that's when real change becomes possible. So let me ask you, what's something you've quit in the past simply because you took 1 day off? Let me know in the comments. And if you're currently in phase 3, don't focus on rebuilding this streak, just focus on coming back tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.